I'm Danae King, and welcome to my home. Actually, I wish you were here at my home. We could just sit down and talk about this face to face. But you are watching this short video because you have looked at the website and wanted to know a little bit more about what this means, conscious transformation, and what is my approach to this community that I call the Unfolding. Well, you might have also seen a description, if you looked at the course modules, that said, this will be a three-phase process where we move from form attachment to transform and formlessness. So what in the world does that even mean? Also, if you've made it this far and you've signed up for the newsletter, more than likely, you're already a seeker. And you might have done what I've done, and that is collect a lot of information. I've actually been on this journey for about 20 years, and it was just purely for myself. I never knew I'd really end up in this place with a formal website and a coaching community. But I know that there are some times where we just have so much information, but we don't exactly know how to take that information and put it into practical use in our everyday lives. That's why I love the phrase information plus application equals transformation. So what in the world does that mean, moving from form to formlessness? So let me share with you, first of all, a simple diagram that, there we go. It's your basic Venn diagram, right? Form, transform, formlessness. I love this because it's such a simple map. And at any point in my life, I know I am in one of those three spaces. I am either in form attachment, I am either questioning and releasing my attachment to old forms, and I am moving into a space that we call formlessness. And that's probably maybe the most confusing if you've not heard this language in relation to moving from who we are as physical beings and what our mind has to go through to transform. So if we talk about transformation in our physical body, that's pretty easy. You can see where we transform from like baby to toddler to teenage. And even as we go further along in our lives, we can see as adults, oh, I was able to do this. I'm not able to do that anymore. So we have this, it's pretty easy to nail down the transform part. But what does it mean to move into formlessness? So let me stop sharing. But keep that in mind because this is something we'll refer to through the whole course. So let me tell you a little story that happened to me during a time where our family was going through a really traumatic event. It was incredibly challenging for our family as a whole, extended family. And a friend of mine called and said, well, how are you doing? And I said, I'm great. And he said, it must be great to be you and to always be able to say, I feel great. And that kind of surprised me. And we went on with our conversation, but later I actually texted and just said, I want you to know that I don't always feel great. And in fact, if you had contacted me, in the months prior to that conversation, at any point, I could have said, I'm angry, or I'm grieving, or I am in a painful deconstruction time. And we're processing, and it's very difficult. But all of these processes that we went through with the tools and the map that I've shown you, and much of the content that we'll talk about in this program, led me to the place where I could say, I am great, I am. But because we know, and I say we, our family, particularly my husband and I, we have understandings of our Enneagram types. We have understandings of worldviews and other concepts and processing tools that we've been through for quite a while, we were able to look objectively and say, here's what we're doing. Here's an idea I'm attached to. Here's where I'm afraid to let go. Here's where we need to process. And I'm 100% believe without these processing tools, I don't know, we would not have been able to move past and move into a truly place of peace and unity in our marriage and in our family. I am so grateful for even just this Venn diagram, but to give me a map, a place on the map where it's like, I am here. So what kind of forms are we talking about other than our physical form? And this is where I heard someone say, we are in the era of the mind. Well, this is where all of our external manifestations of our thoughts come from, is our mind. Now, the question as we move through this is, what forms am I attached to that are my thoughts? Like what beliefs, what concepts, what do I have even within my Enneagram type that I say, oh no, that's who I am. That's an identity that I hold to. Well, I can look at that now and go, that idea of who I think I am is a form attachment. So as an Enneagram 7, when I say, oh, well, I'm the joy bringer, I'm the positive one, and then suddenly I'm not that, something's going on, or better yet, I've moved from being attached to that as an identity to releasing that. I went through the transformation process of, I don't have to be that. That's not who I am. If I'm not joyful, am I still okay? Am I still loved? If I'm not putting a positive spin on everything, am I still loved simply for who I am? That was the transform process of questioning my attachment to a mental position and moving beyond, letting that go. And I can tell you firsthand what happens when that happens is people think something's terribly wrong. Well, actually something was terribly right. And I let go of the need to defend an idea, to be a certain way within my personality. Can I still love and manifest expressions of my being a type 7? Absolutely. Is it my identity? Excuse me. Absolutely not. And so when we look at other mental positions that we hold as an identity, you might hear a lot right now about people who are going through deconstruction. And a lot of this has to do with spiritual identity. And what they are is in the transform process. So many years ago, I was a part of a very fundamental religious organization. And in fact, it wasn't just what I did. I didn't think it was who I was. It was who I thought I was as an identity. Well, then the time came, I began questioning some of those really hard and fast beliefs, and then saying, no, I don't see it that way. I see a more inclusive view of spirituality. And so moving past the identity of that belief system put me in that middle transform stage. And it was a very, very difficult time. But when I released those attachments and became fully aware that who I am as a spiritual being had nothing to do with my attachment to these beliefs. So we see people now who are very attached to an identity, and they might say, I'm a Buddhist. That's who I am. I'm a Baptist. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I am a this. Well, when we begin to move past those times where we are forced to defend a mental stance, That is the transform process, that early part of being aware of, I don't know that I quite 100% attached to that anymore. This is the whole process that we'll go through in this journey. And I could give you a lot more examples, of course. But the reason I use the butterfly is because I think it's a beautiful symbol of the process of form, transform, and formlessness. And of course, the 3-phase process overall of the butterfly, caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly, is a beautiful way to look at form, transform, formlessness. Now, I want to warn you, I was president of my 7th grade science club, and I love science. I even studied biology in college, but we don't often talk about the details of what goes on in the metamorphosis process. It's really kind of disgusting if you look at it that way, but there's a process that goes on inside that chrysalis that, wow, it's a dissolving. It doesn't just change from one form to another. That caterpillar, I'll go into that later. You probably already know it, but to me, it's just such a beautiful symbol of what it means to let go of attachment, to form identity. So I'm using the Enneagram as a doorway because it's a language that we share. And when we come into community together, we need to have some basic language that we connect on. We have a shared experience of those of us who have studied and know the Enneagram, maybe some more than others, but we're going to just, again, use this as a doorway. And we're going to go into some other concepts. I'm going to bring in principles from Byron Katie and the process that she calls the work. I'm going to introduce or bring up again, some of you may be very familiar with Eckhart Tolle, and just a little bit of what he shares that to me has to do a lot with form identity. And we're going to support each other through all of this and understand when I look at the butterfly process, the butterfly never looks back at the caterpillar and says, shame on you. No, our stories, our pasts are a part of who we are. So can we learn to love ourselves, not in spite of our story, but because of our story? Who we have been, all the choices that we've made have all led us to a place of wanting to know what more is there that opens me up fully to experience life at its fullest and its greatest and its most free. Now, anything I approach, any of these studies, my husband and I work a lot with people who are moving through different stages of worldview, and we use the spiral dynamics. That's another tool. But if any of these, if they don't make a difference in my relationship, if they don't help me to be a more empathic person, a more loving, accepting, understanding person, then this is just information. This is just more information that strengthens my ego identity. I hope we can come together, support each other, share our stories, ask the questions freely when we don't understand a principle or even something about our own Enneagram type, which we will refer to, and be able to say, well, how is that a form? How would I release that and move into a transfer? What do I have to transform from? Oh, those are just the most beautiful, like I call them, me and Oprah, aha moments. Thank you for taking your time and watching this. If you have questions, please email me at info@theunfoldingenneagram.com. I will do my best to share with you what I can at this point. If you're ready to come on this journey, let me know. I don't have all the answers. I am not someone who will stand here and say, and now we have no challenges in our life. That is not true because I'm a human being. What I do love is that I have seen the power of this transformation and how it brings families peace and harmony and strengthens at our core who we are in loving and accepting ourselves. Thank you. I hope to talk to you soon.